At a time when the world longs for strong yet compassionate spiritual leadership, the Catholic Church turns to a surprising name, Robert Francis Prevost. A simple man from Chicago, with a missionary soul shaped in Peru and a heart that embraces the whole world, has just been elected as the new Supreme Pontiff, taking the name Leo XIV. But who is this Pope who brings together continents, languages, and traditions into a single call to faith? Get ready to discover fascinating, and even unexpected facts about the journey of this new leader of the Church, the first American Pope, already being called the Lion of Justice. From his passion for sports to his work with refugees, from the silence of monasteries to the cries of the poor. Let's uncover the soul behind the white cassock. Here are 11 things you didn't know about him. 11. The first American Pope in history. Robert Francis Prevost was born on September 14, 1955, in Chicago, Illinois, United States. This makes him the first North American-born pope in the history of the Catholic Church, a truly unprecedented milestone. While the American continent had already been represented in the papacy by Argentine Pope Francis, this is the first time a U.S.-born and raised individual has taken the throne of St. Peter. This is highly symbolic. It represents not only the missionary strength of the Church in the United States, but also the growing universality of Catholicism, which is now less Eurocentric than ever. The election of Leo XIV reflects the expanding influence of the Catholic faith across the Americas. He grew up in a typical Catholic family, attended public schools, and got involved in religious life early on by joining the Order of Saint Augustine. His humble beginnings and missionary journeys show how Providence often lifts up the lowly to surprise the world. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more amazing facts. 10. He's also a Peruvian citizen. Though born in the U.S., Leo XIV has a deep bond with Latin America, especially Peru, where he lived for over a decade as a missionary. During that time, he became fluent in Spanish, worked closely with vulnerable communities in the Andes and rural areas, and took on key pastoral leadership roles. He was appointed Bishop of Chiclayo and later served as Apostolic Administrator of Callao, showing deep pastoral care. In recognition of his dedication, he was granted Peruvian citizenship, making him both an American and Latin American citizen, a true bridge between the north and south of the continent. This dual identity strengthens his image as a universal pope, accessible to both the urban faithful and the forgotten populations in fields and slums. His connection with Peru also explains his sharp social awareness, empathy for immigrants, and deep concern for justice and the poor, all of which he has consistently prioritized in his mission. 9. Member of the Order of Saint Augustine, an ancient legacy reborn. Robert Francis Prevost is the first pope from the Order of Saint Augustine since the 15th century. The last time a member of this order was elected pope was Eugene IV, back in 1431, a historic event in itself. The Augustinian order has deep roots in Christian tradition, inspired by the life and teachings of Saint Augustine of Hippo, one of the Church's greatest minds and author of the classic works Confessions and the City of God. Officially founded in the 13th century, the order emphasizes community life, the search for inner truth, and humble pastoral service. Prevost joined the Augustinians as a young man and made his solemn vows in 1981. He was ordained a priest in 1982. The Augustinian spirit shaped his entire life, a thirst for truth, intellectual charity, simplicity in living, and deep care for souls. His election as pope, more than 6 centuries after the last Augustinian pontiff, is seen as a symbolic rebirth of the order and a sign of renewed appreciation for classical thought and deep spirituality in our modern age. 8. A distinguished scholar, a pope of reason and faith. Before assuming high ecclesiastical responsibilities, Prevost received a solid academic formation, typical of his order. He earned a doctorate in canon law from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rome, one of the Church's most respected institutions, also known as the Angelicum, run by the Dominicans. As a canon lawyer, he not only understands the Church's laws but applies them with pastoral wisdom. His legal background has been essential in his work as a consultant to the Roman Curia, a bishop in Peru, and most recently as prefect of the dicastery for bishops, the position he held before becoming pope. In addition to Latin, he is fluent in 5 modern languages: English, his native tongue; Spanish, thanks to his years in Peru; Italian, from his time in Rome; French and Portuguese, showing his affection for Portuguese-speaking communities. His command of languages strengthens his role as a cultural bridge and a shepherd close to believers from all nations. Let us know in the comments what city or country you're watching this video from. 7. A sports enthusiast, the Pope who cheers like everyday people. Despite his religious life, Robert Prevost never stopped being human, and part of that humanity is reflected in his love for sports. During his time in Peru, he connected with the people not only from the pulpit, but also through soccer. There, he became a supporter of the traditional club Alianza Lima, one of the most beloved and popular teams in the country. His bond with soccer shows his charisma, simplicity, and ability to connect with people through what they love. He understood that in Peru, soccer is more than a sport. Its identity, unity, and hope. In the United States, his favorite sport is baseball, and he cheers for the Chicago White Sox, the team from his hometown. He's a typical loyal fan, even during tough seasons, something many jokingly say is training for leading the Church with patience and perseverance. 6. A defender of social justice, faith in action. Now Pope Leo XIV has stood out for his bold and direct involvement in social causes, especially during his mission in Peru. He was deeply moved by the hardships faced by Venezuelan refugees fleeing the humanitarian crisis in their country and seeking shelter in neighboring nations. Prevost not only welcomed these people spiritually but also supported practical aid initiatives such as shelters, legal guidance, psychological support, and the distribution of food and clothing. In his homilies and interviews, he consistently advocated for a church that walks alongside the least of these, faithful to the spirit of the gospel. He also openly criticized restrictive immigration policies, especially those that jeopardize human dignity. For him, a migrant is not a number, but a person, with a name, a story, and hope. 5. Political engagement, balance without partisanship. Robert Prevost has always made it clear that a religious figure should not align with political parties, but also cannot remain indifferent to what's happening in the world. In the United States, he took part in both Democratic and Republican primary elections, something quite rare for a church leader. This involvement was interpreted as a gesture of balance and freedom of conscience. He doesn't position himself as an ideologue but as a man who evaluates proposals through a Christian lens, guided by the principles of Catholic social teaching and the defense of life, human dignity, and the common good. This reinforces his image as a moderate and dialogical pontiff, one who builds bridges rather than trenches, something much needed in these polarized times. 4. A meaningful papal name, Leo XIV, a sign of social renewal. The choice of the name Leo XIV was no coincidence. He intentionally paid tribute to Pope Leo XIII, who served from 1878 to 1903 and is renowned worldwide for his social encyclical Rerum Novarum. That encyclical was a turning point. For the first time, the Catholic Church extensively addressed workers' rights, justice and labor relations, the role of the state, and the dignity of human labor. It laid the foundation for what we now know as the Church's social doctrine. By taking the name Leo XIV, Prevost signals his intent to revive the papacy's social mission, with special attention to the poor, workers, immigrants, and marginalized. It's as if he's saying, it's time for a new Rerum Novarum, adapted to today's challenges. The name also symbolizes strength and courage, like the lion, an animal associated with royalty, but also with vigilance and protection. 3. Episcopal motto, in illo uno unum. Since his episcopal ordination, Robert Prevost has embraced the motto in illo uno unum, which in Latin means, in the one we are one. This motto is inspired by Jesus' prayer to the Father in the Gospel of John, chapter 17, verse 21, where Christ prays, that they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me and I in you. This motto reveals his deep spiritual and ecclesial vision. The unity of the Church is not a political or institutional project, but a direct result of our union with Christ. When we are centered on the one, which is Jesus, all divisions begin to lose power. As Pope, Leo XIV continues to uphold this ideal, promoting a church that is less divided, more fraternal, more open to dialogue, and more rooted in the essence of the gospel. In a world full of divisions, his motto sounds like a prophetic call for reconciliation among Christians, cultures, and even within families. 2. Educator and mentor, the Pope who shaped souls. Long before reaching the throne of Peter, Prevost worked behind the scenes of the Church as a mentor and teacher. In Peru, he not only managed his diocese but personally took on the mission of forming seminarians, closely accompanying young men pursuing the priesthood. He taught canon law, his area of expertise, but more than just teaching legal texts, he taught from the heart, shaping disciples who were conscious, balanced, and deeply pastoral. For Prevost, to educate is an act of love and a responsibility toward the future of the Church. 1. A prophetic reference, the enigma of Peter the Roman. In the famous and controversial prophecy of the popes, attributed to Saint Malachi, Leo XIV appears as the last pope on the list, under the title Peter the Roman. This prophecy, which emerged in the 16th century, assigns a short symbolic motto to each pope in a sequence leading to the end of times. According to traditional interpretation, Peter the Roman would be the pope to lead the Church during a great tribulation, before the return of Christ and the final judgment. Of course, the Church does not officially recognize this prophecy as divine revelation, but it has endured through the centuries, sparking debate and fascination. Interestingly, Prevost was born in Chicago but has an Italian surname. Prevost is of European origin, and his path led him to Rome as prefect of an important dicastery, where he lived as a Roman for years. Is he the Peter of the end times? Or simply a faithful shepherd in turbulent days? Mystery and faith intertwine, as they always do in the great stories of the Church. And that's the end of another story full of fascinating insights. Don't forget to like and share this story so it can reach more people. Thanks for staying with us until the end. See you in the next video.